3:39. I haven't shaken my tail feathers yet.
This is going to shake her tail feathers for us to get ready for today's lesson. I thought that was brilliant. Oh, normally she's attaching a wooden leg. These are the necessities of life. All right, you guys. Lesson 339. I will receive whatever I request.
That's not the same lesson I'm reading.
Well, where are you?
Oh, you know what?
What?
I apologize. This is
Oh,
lesson 339 today.
yes, it is.
I will receive whatever I request.
That's right.
Same as yours?
Crazy that way, huh? Who would have thought? You have the same lesson that I do.
How's that?
Okay. Are you all together? We're on 339 and it's I will receive whatever I request. That's a big statement that shows the power of the mind.
So, many years ago, I had to have shoulder reconstruction surgery. It was pretty painful.
Well done, sis.
So I requested it.
Mm.
I didn't know that at the time.
Well, if you're going to stop being the sainted Christ and innocent one that you are, I mean, you got to bring it on, right? And it's got to be heavy and it's got to be thick and it's got to be constant for us to forget the light that we are. So order up because that's what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, this is why we're never a victim. This is so big. This is just taking back the power, guys. Instead of going, it's happening to me, it's coming from me, and I could have a different experience if I'm really fed up with this one because it's always seek and don't find. So this is the lesson of accountability. I will receive whatever I request. Okay? So no one desires pain, not consciously, but he can think that pain is pleasure. No one would avoid his happiness, but he can think that joy is painful, threatening, and dangerous. Wow. Everyone will receive what he requests, but he can be confused indeed about the things he wants, the state he would attain. What can he then request that he would want when he receives it? He has asked for what will frighten him and bring him suffering. Let us resolve today to ask for what we really want, and only this, that we may spend this day, in fearlessness, without confusing pain with joy or fear with love. And I'd like to include the footnote on this one. Because we are confused about what we want, we can think that something at a distance is desirable, yet when we actually receive it, we discover that it brings only pain. This illuminates the meaning of today's idea. It is not emphasizing how wonderful it is that we will receive whatever we request. Rather, because we will receive whatever we request, the emphasis is on making the right request. Let us resolve today to ask for what we really want, and only this.
So what is that?
Yeah. Well, it depends on when we're constantly answering that first question of what am I? And so if I am mythical me, then it's not in our awareness, it's not conscious, but if we're wanting and desiring this experience of separation, we don't want the light. So by default, by logical conclusion, you want the dark. If you don't want God, who is eternal life, we actually want death and its imagery. If we don't want to remember our innocence and our perfection, then we need guilt and imperfection and all those different forms. And if you want to forget that you're perfect love, you've got to have the mind entertaining fear, which is why we're always experiencing fearful images. And even the good in the ego dream is still fearful. It's funny, I was just talking to a sister the other day about, this love that she had and how in an instant that love cheated and left with another woman, and what was euphoric went to just travesty in an instant, right? How can we ever call that love? It's so far from the love of God, which is the only love that there is. So even the highest of highs here in the ego dream, for a while we think, oh, this is great. But how quickly, how fickle, how, it's a cheat, right? It has nothing to do with God, which is just an outpouring of changeless, inclusive love. So while we are entertaining mythical me, we actually want love's opposite. And while we want that, that's what we're going to get, right? Be it unto you, Holy Son of God. So your decision about what you are, what you want yourself to be, is the world that you're going to perceive and experience.
So, at a practical level, then the idols in the gap, everything the ego world hails as being,
life.
Yeah. Here in the dream. Grab it while you can, because life is so short.
Fragile.
Death is coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of those idols, we have to look at that, because the underpinning for all of those idols in the dream is fear. Fear itself.
Substitutes for God, which we know on some level, we know that we're trying to live apart from God, make a world that God's not invited in, and we're trying to set up idols to replace, what God is. And while we're doing that, that's the guilt. I really saw this the other day. And it's that we took this amazing gift from God, co-creation. We took this gift that God freely gave to us, his beloved Son, to go and extend. But we took that and we turned it on God and said no to God. Not your will anymore, my will. So I'm going to take your perfect gift and I'm going to make a world where you're not invited. And I'm going to make substitutes for you. I'm going to make my own kind of love. I'm going to have my own kind of life. And by the way, because this is the law of opposites, the greatest idol here in the dream is death, right? So this is a full-on attack on God when we're willing to be honest about what it is that the ego is doing. So while we identify with mythical me, we're identifying as the ego, and the ego is an attack on God. And that's the source of the guilt in our mind. This is what we don't want to look at. But while we're busy here having a world apart from God, it's all these defenses against coming home to God, right? These are our idols. I don't want to know God. I want to be a better lawyer. I don't want, God's abundance. I'm going to have my own private bank account. I don't want your love. I've got my spouse, right? Special love. But every time we do that, we know on some level what we're doing. And the outcome is guilt in the mind. And it's that guilt in the mind that attacks the body and kills it. Body's neutral. It's not doing it to you. It's simply dying under the orders of guilt that the mind's just pouring out onto it. So, are we to look at this with judgment and go, oh, and be all heavy? No, because the dream hasn't occurred. We need to forgive the idea of separation. Thank God it's never occurred. And recognize that the ego's thoughts aren't our thoughts. We simply fell asleep. The dream was fantastic. And we imagined that the dream figure was, your identity for a while. But that's all that needs to be awoken from through forgiveness and accepting the atonement. It never made it real. It didn't actually occur.
Thanks, sis. So this prayer should include that, what you've just said here, huh?
Yeah, Father, this is your day. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself but hear your voice in everything I do. requesting only what you offer me, accepting only thoughts you share with me. There's the surrender of the mythical me and accepting, coming back, taking your rightful place as the Son of God. And God is all there is to the Son's life. The mind we share with God. It's really the surrender and saying yes to what is.
You know, thanks, sis. And with this lesson, I will receive whatever I request. He's, as you stated beautifully before, we don't know the difference between pain and pleasure through the ego, have no idea, because the central, I guess, the central idol that we've become hypnotized by is the idea of that we are a body.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that idea, without belief in that, then we couldn't be confused about pain and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's it. Yeah,
Right.
you couldn't experience the gap or anything in it without the first belief that you're a body.
That's the thing. And I have a quote here from chapter 27. I love that chapter, by the way.
Yeah, it's a goodie.
Chapter 27, section 6, and this one's from paragraph 1. Pain demonstrates the body must be real. It is a loud, obscuring voice who shrieks would silence what the Holy Spirit says and keep his words from your awareness. Pain compels attention, drawing it away from him and focusing upon itself. We all know that, right? Now, its purpose, pain, is the same as pleasure, for they both are means to make the body real. There it is. They're both means to make the body real, pain and pleasure. And what shares a common purpose is the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Feel into that for a moment. Real pleasure is only the pleasure that we receive from doing the will of God. There's only one pleasure, like there's one love, and it's God's. He's declared it, and it is so. But our substitute is, I'm going to grab bits of pleasure through the body. Well, where's God in all of that? Right? Well, we're a body. We're not knowing the will of God, which is that we're spirit. So when we're trying to snatch pleasure without God, or we're trying to defend ourselves from the images that we've made, God's not in that picture either. That's what produces more, fuel, guilt.
Yeah. What just came then was the three, what would you call them? 3 addictions, ego addictions that keep the mythical me alive, which is pride, pleasure, seeking pleasure apart from God, right? Yeah. And the third one's attack, defense, because of course the other side of attack is defense, and you just mentioned that before. But pride, pleasure, and attack. Yeah. Where would we be without those 3?
So basically it's vanity, sexual lust, and death.
Oh, wow. Well, I've never heard it put that way, sis. What is there to live for?
Well, we're learning in the Manual for Holy Relationship that death and sex are really like the ego's 2 biggies. I'll prove to you that you're the body. Yeah, the biggest pull in the dream.
And it's not that sex is bad.
No.
All right. It's just that when you really dig in deep, the desire for lust, not love, right? Desire for lust is really the desire for guilt, which is death.
Because it makes us and our partner bodies.
Yeah.
Which is the belief in separation. Yeah. More on that. Check out the Manual for Holy Relationship.
Yeah. We're actually studying the chapter right now, which is almost 100 pages on sex, what Jesus says about sex. Yeah. But not many people are interested, so I don't know why. Change subject. Okay. So we go on.
We have a blog.
What
No,
that?
I said we have a blog for this lesson.
No, we don't.
We do.
Oh, for this lesson, I thought you meant sex. See, I have a one-track mind. Oh,
Sis. Okay. I don't remember a blog called Sex, but yes, go ahead.
yeah. Um, yeah, there was something here that we do have a blog, but I've also got a little note here,
Okay.
and I don't know whether we should share it with this one or not. Okay, I'll share it. We either see the body or we see the Christ. Another way to explain this is we either want to see guilt, blame, etc., or we desire to seek complete innocence. We have to want to see one or the other. The sight of one eclipses the other entirely. And when we judge someone, we conclude that they are the body. I didn't know, it took me 20 years of studying Course in Miracles before this one dropped in, right? Because I thought I could judge somebody without seeing them as a body. I think a lot of us do, right? But every time we judge someone, we're seeing them as a body.
Right.
And we can't see them as a body without also condemning ourselves as a
That's
body.
right. Because
Right?
only the body sees another as a body and
That's
then
it.
judges that one. So as we reduce our brother who's the Christ to their body, it is the sign. It's because we want to be a body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, sis.
Oh, you're right on it. Thanks, sis. That's good.
Yeah.
That's so important.
And two short quotes from the first one's from chapter 20, section 7. It is, capital is, it is impossible to see your brother as sinless and yet to look upon him as a body. Who sees a brother's body has laid a judgment on him and sees him not. He does not really see him as sinful. He does not see him at all. Is that powerful or what? He doesn't see him at all.
That's
Right?
it right there. That is it. And you know, the whole reason that we're so insistent on being bodies is because bodies don't join. Bodies cannot experience a holy instant. It is not possible. Minds only can join. Bodies cannot. So the whole point, while we're heavily invested in seeing ourselves as a body, all of our judgment of our brothers to keep them as bodies is to make sure that no holy instant arises in which the memory of union and therefore of God can occur. That's it. We're not seeing a brother at all while we even look upon him as a body. That, let alone lust for that body. If we're looking upon a brother as a body and we've made that judgment that my brother is reduced to a body and that's him, I cannot join with him.
Sis, going deeper into this, thank you so much, is that if I went, and I've spoken about this before, but when my daughter nearly died, my confession is I saw her as a body.
Yeah.
I was in extreme fear, terror. I was so worried about her. But then, of course, when I prayed about this, I got an epiphany that while I am afraid for her, I am condemning her to death.
Yeah.
So I was seeing her as a body and condemning myself as well. So that was a huge atonement process for me, which, of course, in the end, the outcome were many, many miracles, including that she recovered quite miraculously.
Once you freed her from, you guys see that every special relationship dynamic, and one of the biggest ones is a parent-child. What's underneath that, underlying it is, I'm going to be the parent, you're going to be the child. And we have this role. Think of it like a lazy 8. There's a dance going on between each one of us and our special relationship partner. And the whole point of that is to keep roles and bodies as reality, right? So mothers worry about their children, and that's deemed good parenting and being a loving parent.
Mhm.
And yet it's full on attack because, which is blasphemous to the ego. How dare you, Corrine, say that? But it, when you look at it, to keep the Christ that the child is confined to a body places that body under all the laws of the ego. So attack, accident, disease, abduction, all of it. It's open season. While we want to keep the child limited and we want our limited role in a body as the parent, right? But how the most loving thing is in the recognition that this is a whole-souled, individuated expression of God here for their learning experience, and I'm cutting the ego cord so that this one can experience its reality. Because while I make demands on them to be a body and to keep that certain role, I'm imprisoning them and myself. How devious, right?
Mm.
A lot of people don't want to look at that one either, but that's what's underlying it until it's not, until it's been forgiven.
Thank you.
I just lost a lot of friends.
Did you? No. Oh,
Stay
we
with
did,
me, guys. Just yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of people, their whole identity comes from their role as a parent, and without that, they wouldn't know who they are. So that's very threatening.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
To
And
the
that's
ego.
okay. To the ego, not
Right.
to truth, right?
Yeah.
There's one more quote that I'd like to finish with, which comes from chapter 15, section 9.
Mhm.
Limit your sight of a brother to his body, which you will do as long as you would not release him from it, and you have denied his gift to you. His body cannot give it, and seek it not through yours. Yet your minds are already continuous, and their union need only be accepted, and the loneliness in heaven is gone. Beautiful quote.
That really supports what I just was
That does, doesn't it?
trying to describe it. Yeah. Yeah. Receive the gift of the continuity of communication beyond bodies with your brother or sister who you are calling your child.
Yeah.
Receive the gift there by releasing that dynamic. Yeah.
So beautiful. So do
That's
we have a gift to give?
always.
We do. Do we have a recommended blog?
Oh, yes, we do. It's entitled The Grandest Illusion of All Time. You want to say anything about that, sis?
It's a bloody good read.
It's down in the show more and description box in the list of resources at the top. Get it while it's good.
Yeah,
And I
that's
mean, it's
the
always
author.
good, but get it while it's there.
It's always- yeah, you're funny. It's an audio, but if you're a reader like me and you don't like audio, just scroll up and you can read it or print it out or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great lesson. I didn't think this would be a very in-depth lesson, but it is. I will receive whatever I request.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's request our freedom.
Yeah.
Let's request the storehouse of treasures and our inheritance that we've been denying ourselves by the belief that we're separate. Let's stop that shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Lesson 339. Thanks, family. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sis. And thank you, beautiful family.
See you next time. Yeah.